So for your dilator work, you're going to want to make sure that you have a nice private space that you're comfortable in. So what you will need is 5 or 6 pillows, 2 washcloths, the dilator that you're going to be working with, or dilators depending on where you are in your process, the lubricant such as slippery stuff or Astroglide. And with the Astroglide, I'm recommending that you get the gel instead of the liquid, just because it's easier to adhere to the dilators itself and it's a little bit less messy. You'd also want to have your remote to your DVD close by as well, so that you can pause the DVD at any time as you're working on the dilator and doing the stretches. You also may want to have a clock nearby as well, so you know how long you are in the session as you are working with the dilators. Before we begin, you need to make sure that you have washed your hands with mild soap and water. Next, we'll need to try to achieve this position as best as you can at home. You can either do this with a number of pillows supported behind you so that you are achieving a semi-sitting position that is supported so that you can easily access the vaginal opening with the dilator. If you are lying too flat and are needing to reach too far to reach that vaginal opening, you're not going to be able to relax enough to really allow the pelvic floor to let go with the dilator work. Some other positions that you can try at home could be sitting on a floor near a couch with an exercise ball, placing the exercise ball against the couch and then leaning against that for support. If you have other props at home that you already have, such as a wedge, certainly go ahead and use that, but achieving a supported semi-sitting position will be best for the dilator use. Before you begin the dilator work, it's going to be important that you are completely relaxed. To achieve this, we can do some relaxation breathing. So go ahead and place one hand on your lower belly and your other hand on your perineum, right between the vaginal and the rectal opening. As you take that breath in, what you should feel is the lower belly expanding into your hand, as well as the perineum expanding into your hand as well. Let's go ahead and give that a try. So go ahead and take a nice breath in, feeling your belly expand into your hands and the perineum expand into your hands. And then go ahead and exhale. Belly returning to the start position, perineum returning to the start position. Let's do that 2 more times. Take another breath in, feeling belly and pelvic floor expansion, and then breathe out, returning to that start position. Good job. One last time. Take that breath in, let the belly expand, pelvic floor expand, and then breathe out. Now we're ready to begin dilator use. Go ahead and grab the extra small dilator that you have. Next, what you'll do is go ahead and put lubricant onto the washcloth that you have next to you. You want to make sure that you're using plenty of lubricant, more than what you probably think that you need. Then what you'll do is go ahead and roll the dilator in the gel, covering the first 2 to 3 inches of the dilator. We want to reduce any friction at all when we're working with initial dilator penetration to decrease any guarding reflex. Once you have plenty of lubricant on the dilator, then what you'll do is go ahead and bring the dilator down to the vaginal opening. And you're just going to place it there. No intention of insertion right now. Just feeling the pressure of the dilator at the vaginal opening, allowing it to be there. Right now, you are in the position where you have the vaginal dilator at the vaginal opening. If you have vestibular pain, you may not be able to tolerate pressure at this area at this time. At this time, you may need further medical management in order to help to minimize that pain so that you can tolerate pressure with a dilator at the vestibular opening. Other things that you can do with a dilator, however, is to start with pressure at the inner thigh. The next session, bring the dilator closer to the vaginal opening. and at the next session, just become further and further closer to the vaginal opening as you are allowing for decreased threat, allowing the dilator to be there. Once you have reached this point, congratulations, this is a huge success for you, and then we can move on to the next section. For those of you that might find it difficult to locate that vaginal opening with a dilator, what you may need to do is actually separate your lips in order to find that vaginal opening, just like we did when you were locating your vestibular area in the beginning of the DVD. For those of you that are comfortable with the pressure at the vaginal opening, I'm going to have you keep the pressure there for the next 30 to 60 seconds. The DVD will play music for you to allow you to perform relaxation breathing with the pressure of the dilator right at the vaginal opening. Now that you have completed the session of relaxation breathing with pressure of the dilator right at the vaginal opening, we're ready to move on to the next step. We're not quite ready for insertion yet. Usually with pelvic pain, there's a guarding reflex right at the vaginal opening. We don't want to push through that guarding reflex, so we have to quiet it. We're going to do a tapping exercise right now, where you're taking pressure of the dilator away from that vaginal opening and then giving pressure just right to the opening without any intention of insertion. Next, what you'll do is take the pressure away from the vaginal opening and then back towards the vaginal opening. With each successive repetition, you should notice less and less of a guarding reflex. Once you're able to actively touch the vaginal opening without any guarding, then we're going to be ready for the next step of insertion. Next, begin a gentle insertion of the dilator. If you feel resistance, try picking up your vaginal muscles and then letting them go all the way. At the most let go point, try to insert a little more as long as there is no resistance. If the resistance persists, leave the dilator where it's at. Do not attempt to force it further. Practice breathing and relaxing, allowing the dilator to stay in place. Use the pick it up and let it go method until the dilator is inserted 2 to 3 inches, as long as you do not encounter resistance. Visualize the pelvic floor muscles as superficial, middle, and deep layers as you pass through them. This visualization will help with the next section. The Syracuse medical dilators are longer than the vaginal canal, so you'll be able to insert the dilator and still be able to hold the end of it. It will never be completely inserted. Now, hold the dilator in place for 10 minutes. You will need to hold the end of the dilator with your fingers, or it will slip out on its own or incorrectly tilt upwards towards the urethra, which can cause irritation. Relax as much as possible and keep breathing correctly. Notice the time now. Pause this DVD and take 10 minutes with the dilator held in place. When the 10 minutes is over, check the amount of time you've been in the session. If your 30 minutes is up, stop now and skip to the chapter on cleaning the dilator.